Welcome to another In Wheel Time podcast, a 30-minute mini version of the In Wheel Time car show that airs live every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central.
It's the In Wheel Time car talk show coming up. You've wanted a buzz all morning long, and we're going to give you one. It's Buzz Smith, and we'll go round and round on electric cars. Conrad has This Week in Auto History, and we'll get you caught up on the stories making car news this week. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We always need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's just get right to it, shall we? There he is, out in the backyard, gardening this morning. It's Buzz Smith. Buzz, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Don. I bet you're doing great today.
I'm almost afraid to ask. Why do you think that?
He's sober.
No, it said, I'm sure you're just champing at the bit to bring up Ford losing or saying they're going to lose $3 billion on EVs this year.
You know, it's so funny you should mention that.
I bet it is.
Because you know that I have got some EV news for you, and you've already struck on one of those. Let me dig down in here. Oh, well, here's one. Scratched your EV battery, your insurer may have to junk the whole car. How about that one? Did you see that story?
Yeah, I saw that FUD.
Well, we'll get to that later then.
And by the way, just so you know,
yeah.
I actually did scratch my battery during a snowstorm up here. I was in a parking lot and couldn't even see this one curb and went over it. And this horrible grating noise along the bottom of my battery, I'm just horrified. And there's a protective shield under it on my car that had been destroyed. It was just hanging like a flap loose. And I took it back to the dealer, terrified about how much damage had been done. And they replaced the shield. Everything's fine. So, again, that article is a bunch of FUD out there.
Okay.
All right.
So should I even? I'm not even going to bother. If
no, don't.
Yeah, okay. We're not even going to go there. But I'll read the story when you're not on the air with us, so I can rail on it. Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Well, the other thing is about Ford losing, $3 billion or something because of their investment.
$2 billion last year.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of money, but what? This goes to the whole journalism thing. So somebody somewhere in the editorial meeting said, ooh, let's just go ahead and go on to that $3 billion. Well, when you build something completely different,
It's a huge investment.
And all of the car companies are doing it. It's not just Ford.
Yeah, Mary Barrett, General Motors, is going, hold my beer and watch this.
It's even better than that. Volkswagen just announced, I believe the number was they're investing 198 billion euros in EV development. So this is something that's coming in, and Don kind of touched on it here with the editorial meeting.
Yeah.
The editorial meeting, it's like, okay, what's going to get people to click on this article?
That's exactly right, my friend.
Clickbait.
Yeah. You're exactly right.
But I think you had an excellent point there. This is a completely different thing. And whenever a new product comes out, one of the naysayer usual things that they'll come up with is how much they're losing per car. And in the Ford announcement, they also there was another article I saw that said that right now Ford is losing $30,000 each on their EVs. And yeah, if you're building a brand new, and Ford calls it the Blue Oval, that brand new manufacturing facility specifically.
Oh no.
Yeah, well, and the other thing is, the plan of the manufacturers is kind of amateurize that out over time and volume. So when they shorten the time on it, the losses are greater. But when you look at the plan for this to be, a 10 or 12-year program, the losses spread out over that longer distance period of time can actually become profit because your profit starts to turn deeper into the program when you've paid off all of your initial investment.
Yeah.
And that's the case in anything.
And if you're just joining us and want to know what's going on, why did we lose Buzz? No, he didn't hang up on us. We've had all sorts of internet.
Government conspiracy.
That's right. We've had all sorts of internet issues here this morning. Thank you, Xfinity. who texted me and said, we've got problems in the area. You should be back up and running at 8:45. Guess what? That was 50 minutes ago, and we still obviously have the problem.
And I had to reboot everything multiple times. But what I've done is I've put Buzz's information up on the screen for those that are watching the show for greencarreports.com through Buzz, pluginamerica.org. That's get a hold of Buzz. That's what you do.
And he is the EV-angelist. And that's why we have him on the show. He is the subject matter expert when it comes to EVs that we know. And, and he can provide a point of view that I don't think any of the four of us have.
No.
But he can also provide lots of information. He does a lot of his own personal research to do this.
And, he'll help you with the tax information, too. He's got all that just at the tip of his tongue. He can just rattle that off.
And Buzz has been hired by manufacturers to go in and do training at their dealerships on the EVs. And it was an integral part of the Houston Car Show the last couple of years as Evolve Houston brought him in as their subject matter expert on EVs to help educate the public, because educating the public's going to be an important part of EV's success, because Buzz would consider us the uneducated public. Is that correct, Buzz?
No, you're becoming the educated public via me.
Oh, via you.
That's why we have you on the show.
Yeah.
So did you lose my audio there for a minute, or did you hear about the Ford T3 project?
No, we didn't.
We
want to hear about that.
We put your screenshot up for your
Okay. So,
and we're going back to.
All right. So why don't we scratch this, and you can reschedule Buzz for another day, Mr. Mars?
What I'm going to suggest is that we drop the video and just go strictly with audio.
Well, that's fine.
And see if we can get enough bandwidth.
Why do you think that'll work?
Because it doesn't take near as much bandwidth.
Okay, well, you're the boss in that area. I don't know anything about that.
Plug them back in at noon for the next interview.
Yeah. Well, at any rate, I think that it's very interesting about the way that things are evolving, so to speak.
Ah, touche.
I will say this, that there is a lot of interest, and I read somewhere this week that about 1/3 of new car buyers are actually interested in finding out more about an EV. So the interest level keeps continuing to get bigger, and that's a good thing.
Well, you are our range anxiety expert, and you've had a number of EVs, and every one you've had.
I'm thinking about changing my name to Nervous Nelly.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, because
we'll think of a better one, but we'll start there.
Yeah, we'll start with that.
Yeah, at least the ones that we can say on the air.
But
today we can say anything because nobody's going to hear it.
Well, there's that.
But you've also said you've enjoyed some of the EVs you've driven.
I have,
and that's.
I will tell you this, and I said it when I reviewed it, and that was the Chevy Bolt EV, and it is an EV. It's a strict pure electric vehicle. And it's not a Tesla. It doesn't claim to be. It doesn't look like one. It looks on the interior like a regular car. And it delivers like it's supposed to.
What they promise it will.
Yeah. And it doesn't have, 300 miles worth of battery life on it per charge. It doesn't have that. It claims 225 miles or whatever.
But you plugged it in when you got there, and you plugged it back in when you got home.
I just kept it plugged. Right. When I parked it in a place that had a plug, and it was a 110 outlet like I've got here at the house, and it worked for me. My biggest fear, and it's kind of changed a little bit now. I'm not so much caught up on the actual driving per day. I know that it's going to take all day for it to charge at 110 volts on the 30 miles it takes me to get to work. It's going to take all day on 110 to charge back up to 100. Mm-hmm. And same thing when I get home. Obviously, it's the same amount of miles. But it worked. It took about 6 hours for it to recover that 30 miles that I put on it. But that's kind of what that car is made for.
How much reserve did you have after that 30?
Oh, it only used about a third,
okay,
if that.
Maker's Mark Reserve.
Yeah.
Maker's Mark Reserve.
Well, and again, your level of expectation needs to be correct for the vehicle you're buying.
You have to be in a position that you're ready to change your habits. It's not, you just can't go to the Sunoco station and fill up in less than 5 minutes. It's not that way. You bypass the Sunoco station and you take it to work and you plug it in when you get to work. And as long as work has got, the capability of giving you some juice, electric juice, to charge it, you're good. And, if you have that kind of mindset, you're good.
Well, and I think the Chevy Bolt was kind of, and this might not phrase out correctly, but I think that's where Buzz cut his teeth, was at the Chevrolet dealership up in Grapevine. Yep. And the Bolt being, Volt originally, and then the Bolt being their primary vehicle.
EV1.
Well, yeah.
Now, they have things at the airport where they've got a
charging station?
No, a thing that they plug onto the airplanes on the tarmac.
Uh-huh.
Could you theoretically
no, you
plug
cannot. No. It's a different kind of connection, and it's got a long, flat, 3-prong receptacle.
But you could roll a diesel generator on the back of a Ford Raptor R and roll up to an EV and charge the EV
but the big
that way.
APUs, I think they call them.
Yeah.
Auxiliary power
units.
Yeah, but those are ground units that I'm talking about, and most airplanes have their own built-in jet engine. Actually, it's separate from the thrusters on the outside that hang underneath the wings. It's a separate small jet engine, and the reason they do that is because it burns jet fuel, and that's what's on the aircraft. And so they'll sit there and run for hours, running the air conditioning inside.
While you're stuck inside the airplane going, let me out. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I could care less that it's snowing in Pittsburgh. I'm going to Phoenix.
Yeah. And, of course, the big commercial airliners like Southwest and all, they hook up their great big, ginormous tubes of air conditioning underneath, and that's a whole separate thing altogether. But
Sky King, that's what we call them.
Sky King.
Remember that show?
I certainly
an old
do.
TV show.
Very old.
With the V-tail?
Yep. And as a matter of fact, I talked to pilots about that.
Was that a Cessna Bonanza with the V-tail?
I don't know.
Didn't they call those doctor planes? Doctors used to fly those.
Oh, that I don't know.
So I wonder if Buzz knows when they're going to start doing electric planes. I know there's conversation about them. Would you fly in an electric plane, Buzz?
Can we get Buzz back? Can we get him back?
He's there.
He's there.
I don't know if he can hear us.
There he is.
No, no. Let's just not even
trying to get him to come in on the phone.
Yeah, well, that's not going to work because we're running out of time. But I will tell you that the EV technology, everybody's going that way. It is going to create a lot of interest, especially with the new cars that are coming out, the EVs that are coming out. And I think that there is a place for them, just like, a Volkswagen Beetle. There's a place for that. It's not something that I would want to take cross country.
And the promises from some manufacturers to be total electric by, Mercedes is advertising by 2030, they're going to be totally electric.
So they're going to throw away all of the gasoline, the ICE engine business.
I can't imagine, but
I
would assume so. GM said they're going to be all electric by 2035, but they just spent $1 billion building a new internal combustion engine plant for a new V8 platform they're coming out with.
And Stellantis has come out with a brand new inline 6-cylinder.
Yep. It's going to be a beast. That's going to be a stump puller.
Yeah, just lots of torque.
Yeah. All right. Time now for this week in auto history. And Conrad has that feature that we have on this kind of disjointed show today because of the internet issues.
In 1929, General Motors acquired 80% of German auto manufacturer Adam Opel for just under $26 million. And I would imagine it's worth substantially more today. But, Opel never really became a hit here in the States. when Opels were being sold as Opels here in the States.
I remember that little sports car.
Yeah,
that's the
Corvette,
old
baby vet.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were all sold through Buick dealerships.
Right.
Yeah.
Was it a Cadet?
Well, there was an Opel Kadett, which was their little sedan.
Mm-hmm.
And then they
square body
and then they
type.
had the kind of a Corvette look-alike, the Opel GT.
Those are cool cars.
Which was actually a very cool little car.
Two-seater.
But that was 1929 when GM bought Opel. In 1961, Jaguar cars introduced the XKE, or commonly known as the E-Type, at the Geneva Auto Show.
Pretty.
The E-Type, my opinion, is one of the most beautiful cars ever made. And it was a successor to the C and D-Type Jag. Even Enzo Ferrari said that was one of the most beautiful cars ever made. So me and Enzo, we're like this.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you are.
You are.
We both like pasta. The first car to carry the Porsche family name was introduced at the 19th International Automobile Show in Switzerland in 1949. And this is, it ended up becoming the Porsche 956.
Looks like a spider.
Yeah, but that was the original Porsche. In 1958, Plastone Company Incorporated registered Turtle Wax hard shell finish auto polish.
That's a turtle of a vehicle there.
And that would be okay. So we'll okay.
Keep going.
We're
Good.
moving along here. Not well. So in 2005, John DeLorean, the American automobile engineer, he died this week at the age of 80 in Summit, New Jersey, from a stroke. After starting the DeLorean Motor Company, John DeLorean was the head of Pontiac. In my opinion, Pontiac's heyday. He led.
He started the heyday.
Yeah, he led the introduction of the GTO, the Firebird, the Grand Prix, some really epic vehicles in Pontiac history, and then moved within General Motors over to Chevrolet, and then laid an egg called the Vega, and then left General Motors to start his own company, which was DeLorean Motor Cars. And really, to me, the thing that made that car most famous was, without a doubt, the movie.
Yes.
And then previous picture to this, in 1990, Ford introduced the Ford Explorer to the public, one of the first generations of sport utility vehicles released by the Big Three in the early 90s. The Ford Explorer became one of the Ford's best-selling models almost immediately. So,
how did those pictures get out of order?
I have no idea. I send them in order, and I send them in order based on how I build my notes. And
Mars. What happened?
Brown water.
No, but yeah.
You were cutting grass and decided to do the videos while you're at the beach.
No, I did the videos before that.
He decided to smoke the St. Augustine.
He was doing shots while he was.
He says, "I'm going to cut grass." It's not what we think.
Another thing, in 1968, construction started on the north tunnel of the Eisenhower Memorial Tunnel on Interstate 70 in Colorado. You ever been through that?
I am not.
So as you go, I imagine Katie has, as you go west out of Colorado on I-70, you climb up this huge mountain, and then you go through this tunnel. It's probably about 1.5 miles long, and it's the highest vehicular tunnel in the world, and it was, it's at 11,000 feet.
That's not the car that came out of it.
That's the Ford Explorer.
Yeah, go back to that.
But again, 4 months after it opened, over 1 million vehicles had passed through the Eisenhower Tunnel. So again, the Ford Explorer became one of Ford's most popular vehicles, and then got banged by a bunch of recalls for some tire issues.
What is the deal with Ford and the recalls?
Good question. I don't know. It's
and they had somebody got fired there, and they brought somebody else in to figure out what in the world is going on. But car manufacturers don't manufacture cars; they assemble cars.
Correct.
And they get all of these different parts,
components
from suppliers
everywhere.
Do they not engineer the parts correctly?
The I can speak for General Motors. They spec out, here's this component we want. Can you make this widget for us? Here's here are the specifications for it that we need it to meet.
Here's the alternator that we need.
Right.
This is what we need it to do.
So the vendor is going, okay, I can build that for $93. Well, there's another vendor down the street. I can build it for $92, and all of a sudden it becomes who can build it the cheapest, and that to me is part of the problem. Is this is all necessarily about cost savings, not about quality,
reliability.
So when they worry about saving $1 per car times 1 million vehicles, that's big savings. But how much does it cost to recall it
and fix it?
It's way more than $1 million to recall it after you've built it. So,
to speak of recalls and suppliers, NASCAR just went through this with one of their teams where they put a vent on the hood of a car. They had to modify it, adapt it to the hood of the car.
Let's go.
Tested
all
it.
The Hendrick guys suspended.
They tested it to see if it worked. They didn't qualify with it. They didn't race with it, but they got hundreds of thousands of dollars of fine.
$400,000.
Multiple crew chiefs were kicked off for several weeks.
4 crew chiefs were.
But if they didn't run it
for 4 weeks,
that's the rules of
Doesn't
NASCAR
matter.
because it's NASCAR's rules. But it's a single source supplier.
right?
NASCAR has single source suppliers. Like Conrad builds this widget for NASCAR. He
The hood.
builds it for all
whatever
of them.
it is. Yeah.
So he is a single source supplier.
And if
for
I do
NASCAR
something wrong, you still got to use it.
and you
And
can't
that's
modify
what's going on with a lot of these recalls is, that vendor builds that part to meet that spec, but they kind of work the edges of it to drive the price down and then provide it to whoever that manufacturer is. And then that part goes through a failure process or a failure frequency. And it's that failure frequency that gets reported to NHTSA. And when it exceeds a certain amount, that's when it becomes a recall.
Mm-hmm.
What a waste of time, money, and effort.
Yeah.
And
They
it's a
could
black eye.
They could just build the quality of a car. It's going to drive the price up a little bit, but would you be willing to pay
Yes.
an extra 10% for a vehicle is going to go 300,000 miles without failure?
How does Toyota manage to build cars that rarely get recalled?
Mm-hmm. Well, they have, everybody has recalls.
I said
but,
rarely.
but not in the volume that you see.
Ford
at
and GM and all,
Right.
I don't understand.
Well, and some of that may be Toyota may be building more of their own components. I don't know that for a fact, but I know they also have a better base of vendors that are delivering parts. Denso being a huge vendor to Toyota, but they're also a vendor to General Motors. They're also a vendor to Ford.
And they're also an aftermarket supplier.
Right. So,
All right, some of the stories making automotive news headlines this week. Of course, interest rates on everybody's mind these days. Federal Reserve on Wednesday raised interest rates by 0.25 percentage point, but indicated it was on the verge of pausing further increases in borrowing costs amid recent turmoil in financial markets spurred by the collapse of 2 U.S. banks. The Fed, their actions raised the prospect of higher borrowing costs for new and used vehicles and other forms of credit, notably mortgages. Average new vehicle interest rate rose 2.6 percentage points to 7% between February 2022 and February 2023, as the Fed increased its benchmark target 4.5 percentage points during that time, according to Edmunds. A potential light at the end of the tunnel for car shoppers could come in the form of financial incentives from auto manufacturers as inventory continues to build up and vehicles sit longer on dealer lots. Shoppers can't expect the doorbuster bargains they saw pre-pandemic, but consumers with good credit who do their research might find more favorable financing options heading into the summer season. So stand by, as it were.
For news.
and as inventories increase, manufacturers want those off the lot so they can keep production running. So that's why
And
they
speaking
offer
of production of the Chevrolet Camaro sports car will end after the 2024 model year.
Boo.
Last sixth-generation Camaro, which debuted as a 2016 model, will leave GM's Lansing Grand River Assembly plant in January, according to Chevrolet. There was no immediate plan to replace the Camaro, though the brand hinted at future possibility. They are not going to get rid of the Camaro. It's going to be put on pause. There's no market for that car right now.
Well, that's what happened between 2002 and 2010.
Yeah.
The Camaro was put on pause, and for all of those guys with mullets, they became men of paws.
Oh.
Automotive News has reported that a similar-sized electric vehicle, though not necessarily an electric Camaro, is expected to be built at the Lansing plant in 2026. The plant also builds the Cadillac CT4 and CT5 sedans.
Sweet.
Yeah. And Ford Motor Company expects its electric vehicle business to lose $3 billion this year, even as it forecasts increased profits on its internal combustion and commercial vehicle operations.
Yeah, let's not worry about where we're making profits. Let's really focus on where we're losing our fanny.
The automaker on Thursday projected the losses from its EV unit called Model E will increase nearly 50% in 2023 from $2.1 billion last year, as it continues to invest in boosting production and developing next-generation products on a dedicated EV platform.
Tune in next week; it'll be $5 billion.
Yeah, and boy, I've got a story on a scratched EV battery that you are not going to believe, because insurance companies apparently are now saying,
We're not
no,
gonna cover that.
yeah. So you get in a wreck, you scratch the battery, and apparently it's a big deal if you scratch the battery. They have to replace the entire battery pack, because in certain model Tesla, that battery pack is integral to the structure of the car.
Oh, wow.
So they have to replace the whole
Unibody,
friggin' car. It's like, oh, you're kidding me?
A Unibat.
Yeah. So that's a story that I will send.
That's a BUV.
Yeah. Battery utility vehicle.
Okay. Above. So above. All right. Time now for a quick break on the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Back after this.
Tailpipes and Tacos, Houston's premier car cruise-in returns Saturday, April 15th to the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, 8 to 11 a.m. Bring your Hot Rod, Classic, Resto Mod, or any other vehicle you'd like to show and compete for one of 3 highly coveted Chili Pepper trophies. This April 15th kickoff event is one you'll want to put on your calendar, because 100% of the money you donate for the free tacos will be given to God's Garage. You heard right. Free tacos. Whatever you decide to give, all of it will be given to God's Garage and matched by Lupi Tortilla. God's Garage gifts vehicles to single mothers, widows, and wives of deployed military in the greater Houston area. In fact, the Garage will gift a vehicle to a mom in need at this special event. Be sure to attend the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In, Saturday, April 15th, 8 to 11 a.m. at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10. Free breakfast tacos for any donation to God's Garage. It'll make your heart and your belly feel good. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In-Wheel Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InWheelTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In-Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. That's it for this podcast episode of the In-Wheel Time Car Show. I'm Don Armstrong, inviting you to join us for our live show every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and our InWheelTime.com website. Podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeart Podcast, Podcast Addict, TuneIn, Pandora, and Amazon Music. Keep listening, and we'll see you soon.